You don't have to do this. Look around you, damn it! Everything I had, it's all gone! Neville has ruined me! My men have fled, even my bodyguard got to! Got to! Got to!
Too bad, Kensington. I was gonna let you die with dignity. Which is more than you afforded my family.
Raven's Cry is probably the worst game of the year. I say probably because there's still another good 4 months left before the year is over, and if any industry could crap out something worse than this, it would be the gaming industry. And who would let this industry come out with a turd and then charge for it? Valve. Before we get into what I have to say about quality control or the lack thereof on Steam, it's important that we understand just how bad Raven's Cry is. Raven's Cry is an open-world pirate game that was published by Topware Interactive of the Two Worlds franchise. It began development under Octane Games, but when Topware wasn't satisfied with their work on the game, they handed it over to Reality Pump, who had worked on multiple projects with Topware in the past. Raven's Cry was announced in 2011 and released in 2015 for PC. Raven's Cry follows the story of Chris Raven as he is out to get revenge on the people who killed his family when he was younger. Along with his shipmate Marcus, he must find information leading to the men who killed his family while evading Spaniards and other forces who either want him dead or put into prison. Raven's Cry is currently being sold for $54.99 on Steam, although there is a digital deluxe edition that you can buy, which is $59.99. Also on Steam for $59.99 is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Let's compare a cutscene from The Witcher 3 to Raven's Cry.
Not bad, not bad. Though you could stand to improve some things.
Man spends his whole life learning.
Not a Witcher, unless he doesn't want to live long. But more on that later. Take the Griffin's head to the Black Ones. I'll ready our horses.
I'm just happy to be alive. You're thinking about Hammerhead Harry upstairs, aren't you?
I'm thinking of any way we can get ourselves a new ship, Chris. Go ahead, but that's still chicken feed, Chris. The only way to make enough money to buy a new ship is with a ship. See the problem there?
Yeah, Raven's Cry is shit. I realize that comparing a large AAA game to a smaller, less well-funded game seems like an unfair comparison, but close attention to both scenes would note that there's nothing special when you see Geralt talking to other people, but Raven's Cry cannot even pull off dialogue, as entire sections of it are missing. The game cannot even handle fucking character spawning, as the character you're supposed to be talking to does not spawn at all in that conversation, leading you to have an interaction with a ghost. Now, why is that happening? Why would a game costing, at the very least, $55 have such terrible cutscenes? That's because it was released unfinished. Not that this game would be good even if it was finished, but the game is simply not complete. I always try to maintain a certain amount of objectiveness when reviewing a game, but Raven's Cry is so laughably broken and fucking horrendous that it's hard not to get angry at it. Where do we begin criticizing this game? Maybe with the cutscenes. You already saw one cutscene that had no dialogue. But throughout the entire game, due to bugs, there's certain audio glitches within the cutscenes that alter the dialogue to comical degrees.
I don't like this, Chris. This Torado asshole isn't going to play us straight.
Guess we should avoid San Juan for a while.
Agreed. Might be a good time to visit home after all, eh?
At least until
You decide to murder another officer of the Navy.
Are you fucking bastard?
Now you listen to me. The sooner you tell me what I want to know, the sooner you can go over there and take care of that piece of shit.
What do you want, Christopher?
You're costing me money.
You're gonna lose more than money if you don't shut up and listen to me. You used to have a regular, a trader that dealt with Santorio. He ever talk about where they'd meet?
You're hurting me. You know we don't talk about what goes on with our customers. You better let me go before Maria sees you.
Who do you think sent me over here? Now tell me what I want to know.
Also, for whatever reason, it sounds like the voice actors are recording their dialogue in a deep cavern.
Surprised?
Not at all. When do we leave?
Soon. Be prepared.
The developers did not even bother properly lip-syncing the models to what was being said within the game.
Well, I'll be fucked. You're gonna try to kill him, aren't you?
There are also pre-rendered cutscenes which are equally bad due to putrid voice acting and strange character animations.
I wouldn't have been able to kill your fellow officer for you, would I? Now give me my money.
Tossed away. Christopher Raven, you stand accused of murdering an officer of the Spanish Navy. The penalty for your crime is death.
At one point during the first 20 minutes of the game, there's a cutscene where the mesh for the Chris character model starts fucking up.
We're behind the door, Chris. We're going to have to split up and meet at the harbor. Go upstairs and try to find a way out. I think I saw a balcony up there.
And what about you?
Cutscenes in this game also do not follow the rule of thirds, meaning that we end up with weird shots like this.
You're not answering my question, Maria.
Now, presentation isn't everything about a game, so how is the combat? This is a pirate game, so of course there's ships and sword duels. Actually, duel isn't the word I'd use to describe what happens whenever Chris whips out his sword. And sword isn't the word I'd use to describe what Chris uses in combat against his enemies. It handles more like a magic wand, and I always feel like Chris waves it around just hoping that his enemies will disappear. The sword combat is absolutely terrible, due in part to this, as it never feels like any of the hits ever connect. There's no impact to anything. There's also a blocking feature, but it only ever works when it wants to. Ship duels are a little better, but are boring and tedious. The sound makes the ship duels a lot worse, with the characters just spouting off random and generic lines over and over again. Funnily enough, in the first ship battle, which serves as a tutorial for the ship battles later in the game, it's entirely possible for both ships to lose their sails in the battle, which means that you can't move. And if the other ship is too far away for your cannonballs to hit, you're left floating in the water because you can't take down the other ship, but you also can't move. Restarting the game is the only solution at that point. This leads into general gameplay, so let's talk about it. Raven's Cry is an open world game, so whenever you're in a specific region like San Juan or St. Lucia, you can explore, talk to people, buy things, have sex with prostitutes, and do some side missions. Except, as you know, this game is broken and unfinished, so all these activities come off as complete bullshit. Every so often, you're stopped by a repugnant-looking model who either owes Chris money or needs a job done, so they'll pay Chris to do it. This is how you earn money in the game primarily, although if you do kill someone, you can also loot them for money and other items. The game features gun combat as well, which does seem to work just fine. Raven's Cry also has a points and leveling system, a crew and ship maintenance system, and equipment management, all of which seem worthless because the core gameplay is so terrible. Finally, let's talk about graphics, stability, and optimization. The graphics options are poorly implemented as the standard low, medium, high, and ultra don't exist, and are replaced by a number scale, making it difficult to gauge just how good or bad something is going to look when you change it. The first time I booted up Raven's Cry, it crashed so badly that I had to force restart my computer. It never crashed for me after that, but there are complaints pretty much everywhere of certain areas in the game crashing several times over. The frame rate in Raven's Cry is as consistent as diarrhea, ranging from a normal 60 to 9. To the game's credit, the frame rate is not capped, but the game is not optimized at fucking all. So, to tally that all up, Raven's Cry is a broken, unfinished piece of shit that suffers from every problem that you can possibly think of. Horrible voice acting, terrible cutscenes, combat that doesn't work, optimization problems, and crashes. And it's being sold on Steam for $54.99. It's time to talk about Steam and quality control. Steam is a fantastic service. Not only is it where most of us buy our PC games, but the platform has also become a means of communication between me and you, as I speak to many of my subscribers through Steam. Steam is ridiculously practical, so it makes sense that it has reached the level of popularity that it has among the PC community. With all this said, Steam does have its flaws. For example, to say that Steam support is lacking would be a grand understatement, but in my opinion, there lies a much bigger problem with the potential to harm the service even more, and that's Steam's complete lack of quality control. In short, quality control is the testing of a product to see if it meets the standards for a product release. This doesn't exist on Steam at all, so the storefront is littered with games that range from broken to being complete fucking scams. In 2012, Steam announced the GREENLIGHT service, where users could choose what games went into the actual storefront, for a fee of $100. To make sure that bullshit submissions were reduced, you could put your game on GREENLIGHT and hope that people upvoted it, and in the case that people did, you'd have your game put onto Steam. Fast forward to 2015, and Steam GREENLIGHT has become a breeding ground for horrible games and shady developers. You can put literally anything on GREENLIGHT. Don't believe me? Well, I bet you can't wait to play GTA 7 powered by Unity Engine. GREENLIGHT is also a host for what is now referred to as the asset flip, where developers buy an asset pack from, usually, the Unity store, load it into the Unity engine, and then sell it as is. Meaning that they put no work into it and are selling something that they just fucking bought. The worst part is that some of these games have already made it onto the actual storefront. Combine these abominations with the games that don't work and are released by terrible publishers, and you wind up with a bowl of shit. Because of this gigantic lack of quality control, Steam wasn't there to tell Temper Tantrum that you cannot pass! Steam wasn't there to tell the Slaughtering Grounds to go back to the shadow. And Steam sure as hell was not there to tell Raven's Cry that you shall not pass! By the way, I played a game called The District a few days ago. This game is a fucking scam. It's bugged and broken in every aspect. It's a Unity asset flip, and the developer abandoned the game and ran off with the money. You'd think the least that could be done with a case like this is to take the game off the storefront, but nope, it's still being sold on Steam. And this doesn't end here. Because there is no quality control, there's simply no monitoring of anything. It has been proven that developers can make fake accounts to upvote their games on GREENLIGHT, and they can also pay off people or get friends to upvote it and give it positive reviews as well. Steam also gives the developer complete control over their respective Steam forum and the user reviews for the game, meaning that if you dare criticize their game on the forum, you run the risk of getting banned and silenced. Developers can also block certain tags associated with their games in case they don't seem favorable. Developers can also flat out lie in the descriptions of their games and promote their games with screenshots that may not be representative of the final product. Even if you argue that it's not the responsibility of Steam to decide what games go on their storefront, it is sure as fuck their responsibility to make sure that the customer isn't bullshitted and fed misinformation. You can also argue now that with Steam's new refund policy, you can get your money back if a game is total garbage. But why was the game being sold in the fucking first place? Why were there refunds of Batman Arkham Knight in mass? Because Steam doesn't do quality control, and Warner Brothers knew that it could put an unstable, unoptimized shit on the storefront, and without the refund policy, you just have to deal with it. The refund policy does give us a certain amount of power, but it doesn't make sure that these games don't exist and aren't being sold to begin with. And believe me, I understand that quality control leads to a more closed platform, and it could potentially go down a very dark path, but we're already on a very dark path with shady business practices running amok and no one doing anything to prevent it. Which ties everything back to Raven's Cry. Raven's Cry was released unfinished. There have been patches released that fix some issues, but there's allegedly a major patch in the works which may change the game on a fundamental level for the better. The problem is that, according to one of the developers on Steam, the patch will be, quote, done when it's done. I'm sorry, what? That's not how this works. You don't get to release a game and then profit off of it for 6 months, and then when the community asks you for a patch to fix all the broken shit, you reply with no concrete date for release. No, Mirror's Edge Catalyst will be done when it's done. Rise of the Tomb Raider will be done when it's done. These games are in development, not games that have been released and are 6 months old. Further searches into the Raven's Cry Steam forums reveal further hilarity. There's a user who claims to have worked on Raven's Cry, and he says that the game failed all quality control for consoles and that it runs on an old engine using old assets and is just being passed off as a AAA game. He also mentions that the voice of Chris Raven was done by some non-professional guy that they just picked off the street to save money. He goes on to say that Raven's Cry failed all quality assurance testing and that it's a scam. That user allegedly worked on Raven's Cry, so while we must take what they say with a grain of salt, is it really that hard to believe? From what I've shown you, it should actually be quite easy to believe that Raven's Cry is a scam. And it's a scam that made its way onto Steam despite allegedly failing all quality assurance testing. And it'll most likely stay on Steam because Steam has shown that it does not care. Raven's Cry gets the final rating of Rest in Piss.
No, Brady. Brady! Fuck!
Jesus,